Welcome to Politics Done Right. I should call this Politics Done Right, the snippet version. But anyhow, I'm here with Chris, the one and only Chris Reeves. Chris, how you doing today, buddy? Chris is our old-time Daily Kos bolts and what is it?
We run a series on Daily Kos called Nuts and Bolts. It's one of the older, long-running series about basics that you can implement in small campaigns.
Right. Now, but most importantly now, I think you are a part of the
I am a member of the Democratic National Committee. So.
Right. So you're, in effect now, folks, we are in the belly of the beast when we're talking to Chris Reeves. So I told Chris I would ask him a whole lot of difficult questions, and he said he'll answer my difficult questions. But before we get into that, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well.
And then, tell me a little bit about what you see, where the direction that you see the party is going. How do you feel about 2020? I want to hear about how this national guy feels about all of that.
So I feel pretty good about 2020.
Right.
But I always tell people, don't get overconfident. We're going to have to run hard. We're going to have to run hard all the way. But the one thing I really do like about 2020 is we have a large group of candidates, which
Right.
I think is good for the voters because it gives people something they can like about anybody who's running.
Right.
So it makes for, I think, a very positive voting experience.
Right. Now I'm going to get a little bit more difficult with you. Right now, you are currently, I feel, in my opinion, that the party has a bias towards Joe Biden. Is that true or not true?
So I would tell you, although I'm one of those who believes in neutrality in the primary.
Which you,
so,
yes.
But it's one where I hope that the party does not have a Biden, a reservation for Biden, some
Right.
sort of bias for him, because I don't think that that's right for the voters.
Right.
I think that the one thing is that a lot of the media has a bias for Joe Biden because they want familiarity.
Right.
And I don't think that that's very good for our process. As somebody taking off my party hat and talking as a Daily Kos hat,
Right.
The Biden as a campaign
Right.
has been one of the campaigns that I have not been overly impressed with how they have campaigned. I'm neutral. I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying I don't view Vice President Joe Biden as the
Formidable candidate.
the formidable candidate that a lot of other people do.
I am glad to hear that, but then again, you are a member of Daily Kos, so
Right.
you kind of have a broader view.
And for people who remember, I was on the Rules Committee for Senator Sanders in
exactly.
2016.
Yeah, and not only that, I think you were back in Houston a few years ago. I think that was rules as well, right?
Yeah, that we were working rules in Houston as well on our goal to continue to make the party more representative of the activists
Right.
within our party.
Now, so bottom line, then you're in the national committee, and as far as you're concerned, the national committee per se, there's no bias towards Joe Biden.
I think one of the great things about the National Committee is that they're elected out of their states every few years. And so in 2016, there was a big number of people who were backers of Senator Sanders, as well as more progressives, who were elected inside the Democratic National Committee. And so those people have come inside the tent, and so now you've got a lot of those progressives, far more progressives than I think we've ever had, who are inside the DNC, who have been working for changes. And you've seen a lot of that in the Unity report, where we made changes to the way our primaries and caucuses are going to work. But you're starting to see some of that fight back about some of the, we've always done things this way.
That is so important.
I think one of the things that you've seen, I was one of the first 18 signers onto the call for an environmental debate.
Right.
And that was pushed by multiple state chairs. People inside the DNC said, hey, we want to take a relook at the debate rules. Let's maybe consider opening this up or doing things differently.
So are we going to have one?
I think that we're going to see a debate about it in San Francisco at the
Right.
DNC. But even more than, and I've told people, even more than an environmental debate, which I want an environmental
Right.
debate, I want us to rethink how we're doing debates altogether. We keep looking at debates like a bunch of candidates behind podiums,
Right.
and they're speaking to a crowd with a moderator. And more people, I think, would be informed if we change the rules a little bit. Right now, the rule is if you're not the DNC, the only thing that you can do is one candidate at a time.
Right.
And I'm saying, having talked to the campaigns, would people be better informed if multiple candidates went on The View, or if they appeared, if we had candidates, if we had a pair of candidates or three candidates go on Sway in the Morning,
Right.
or go on Howard Stern, or go on any program that, if they went on Late Night with
Right.
Colbert, and we had several candidates at once, who gets hurt in that? Nobody gets
right,
hurt
right,
in that.
right.
So why don't we realize that the era has changed? We keep debating Lincoln Douglas style from 1860.
Right.
I wouldn't mind a debate where you've got Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren,
Just the two of them, or
just the two of them on The View talking about a single issue, where the debate is, let's talk about how to make it better.
Right.
I think the country is ready for that, and we got to break out of some of this old school thinking about what is and isn't a debate. And I think that's going to be one of the discussions that we'll have in San Francisco.
When is it?
That's August 22nd through the 26th.
Keep me abreast on
Absolutely.
what's going on. Now, so in closing, tell me a little bit about where you think we need to go from here. But before, I want to do it in two places. Let's first talk American politics, and then I want you to talk about Daily Coast afterwards.
Okay. So one of the things that I am more concerned, you brought up Vice President Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm going to be neutral, but the one thing that does worry me about, that I keep hearing from a lot of communities, especially when we go outreach into minority communities, is there are too many people who believe that, well, the safe choice is an old white guy, because
Right.
people are used to voting for an old white guy. And I'm going to tell you, all the data I see, every piece of data that I see, tells me that we need to rethink that notion altogether.
Yes.
We need to stop saying, resigning ourselves to the idea of qualifications that shouldn't matter.
Right.
If you're voting for Joe Biden, it should be because you love some issue that he's
policies.
articulating. If you love Harris, it's because there's something about her that excites you.
Right.
If you love Bernie, it's something excites you. If you love Warren, it's because you've heard her plan and you say, damn, that's what I want.
Right.
The only way that we win isn't by playing check a box and saying this is what has always worked.
Right.
The way that we win, an activist once told me, Democrats win when somebody turns to me and they say, I would walk across broken glass to go vote for that person.
Guy. Yes.
And they said, with President Obama, which was the largest vote getter we have ever had.
Yes.
Let's remember that.
Nobody has gotten that many
Nobody.
votes.
There were people in this country who said, I would walk across broken glass to go vote for Barack Obama.
Right.
And who is that candidate? That's really the standard. The standard shouldn't be, let's go chase some white voters somewhere who may or may not be willing to pull the lever because they would be okay with it. Those people won't be excited.
Right.
They're not running to the polls to be like, oh my God, I got to vote for this person or that person. So find me the excitement. If you're excited about a candidate, that's the reason to get behind
I
them.
tell you, Chris, that is one of the reasons I wanted to interview. I think that's important. I think more people from the national committee need to speak like that. It's almost like giving the people in the party, the real party ideologues,
Right.
permission to think outside of the box.
Right.
And I think that is so important. You have to think outside of the box. Now, Daily Coast, what do you think about how far we've gone so far?
I think one of the things that I'm, of course, Daily Coast staff, and I've written at Daily Coast for 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And my department is handling community, which is outreach. One of the things that I have always loved about Daily Coast is we have people every day who come there and advocate for every
Every position.
Every position.
Every position.
And they are willing to discuss and debate it and have a real exchange of ideas. And I think that someone once told me they were really offended by something that got written and they disagreed and they were angry about it. And I said, have you read through all the comments? If you went through, there was this back and forth, war of words in the comments. People went back and forth. And I said, but you know what I see in that? I see some people who hear something they have never heard before, and I look for somebody who has changed their mind. Because most of the people on Daily Kos or progressive blogs, they're with us on 80% of the issues.
Yes.
They're the easiest people to explain why you may be in a different place, who will at least listen to you. It's not like going to some place where conservatives are going to come in and troll. It's coming to some place where somebody that you agree with 80% of the time disagrees with you, but is willing to listen to what you have to say. And I think that's fantastic. The other thing about it that I love in relation to presidential politics is that we have advocates there of Harris, we have advocates there of Warren, of Bernie, of Castro, of Buttigieg. And all of these people are voicing their excitement. And one of the things I love about that is somebody's going to win the nomination. And one of the problems I felt we had in 2016 was that the people who were Bernie people that I talked to, when Hillary won, they were like, well, they're kind of excited, but there's nobody over there who is like revved up, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
the polls show it.
And so, but even people who back Bernie or back Warren or back Harris or all of those, they look at the other groups who are backing the other candidates. And I've had some of the people I worked with Bernie on who were like, I talked to the Elizabeth Warren people and they are excited. And that enthusiasm is catchy, and it makes it easier to get behind a candidate in the end to say, I know some of my best progressive friends are really excited about this candidate or that candidate, and that's fantastic.
That is wonderful. Dailykos.com, DAILYKOS.com. Chris Reeves, it's always my pleasure to have you on, and thank you very much for all the work that you're doing.
No problem.
This is necessary work.
We got to keep working on it. We cannot let Trump prevail in 2020.
Thank you, my friend.
There you go.